You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell, I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
All right, folks, well, good evening. This is Rick Robinson, one half of the crew for the Jenn and Rick Show, and I'm joined by the other half, Miss Jen, and we are live right now, coming to you live from KLRNradio.com. A few minutes later than usual, but that was issues with me needing to find my cough drops and issues with the gremlins and the interwebs and the hamsters that make my country interwebs work were being a little feisty. So it was a little hard to get things going. But we're finally here now, and we're finally up and running. And we're kind of going to be all over the place again today. There have been lots of interesting news stories, lots of things going on, leftists having meltdowns everywhere. Everybody's all of a sudden decided that we are in the middle of the Trumpocalypse, and they just don't quite seem to know what to do with themselves.
No, and kind of like we talked about last time, it's the utter meltdown on the left, but there's a lot of meltdown on the right, too. Of the really hardcore never Trumpers, I'll say kind of would have ended up being the McMullinites, that, they can't give anything a thumbs up as long as it has Trump attached to it. So, for people that don't really know, there was this women's march this week, and I know everybody knows about that, but it's kind of triggered this ongoing, abortion debate, which is never fun, and it's always messy, and it's so hard to change hearts and minds because people are so passionate and so dismissive of one another in discussing these things. But I think that one thing that really propelled this was reinstating the Mexico City policy. So this is also called the Global Gag Rule, and basically it was instituted at a UN conference in Mexico City in 1984 by Ronald Reagan, and it bars foreign organizations from receiving U.S. aid money if they offer abortion services or abortion-related services. So, people are freaking out, and I've been seeing this section of Never Trump that is basically giving some sort of legitimacy to the Women's March and to the people shrieking about the Mexico City policy being reinstated, which, by the way, it was instated by Reagan. It was rescinded by Clinton. It was reinstated by Bush, and it was rescinded by Obama. This tends to just go along with Republican versus Democratic platforms. It's not very hard to understand. And they're acting like, the left is acting like this is just the end of the world, that we're trying to take away rights for all of these people. And there's this section of the right that, because Trump is the one that reinstated it, is siding with these nut jobs. And I just don't get that. I will not for the life of me understand how you can have such derangement syndrome and hate towards a politician that in order to avoid being lumped in with some of his crazy, fans and supporters, that you will oppose everything no matter whether it's actually a good thing or not, because you are so deluded, you're so angry, you cannot recognize something that is a win for your side when it's a win for your side. It's insane.
Well, yeah, but it all comes back to this whole thing of they cannot give any credit to Trump because they decided a long time ago that no matter what happened, they were never ever going to support Trump. And I was never Trump, and I told everybody up front, I'm never Trump up until the point where whoever becomes president gets sworn in, because at that point, whoever I was against, it doesn't matter anymore, because as an American, it's my job to get behind the president and try to do my best to support them until they tell me that I shouldn't. And so far, he's not really done too much to tell me that I shouldn't. I mean, there are all kinds of things that he's doing that I actually think are good things. There is, for example, there has been a change on the tone at the White House's website that actually specifically talks about the fact that Black Lives Matter will no longer get carte blanche treatment from the White House, and that this administration will be a law and order administration. I think that is a good move. There's also, at this point, there's been a policy shift that they will no longer refer to ISIS as ISIL. In the Trump White House, it will be ISIS. I think that is, again, a good shift, because we're talking about words, and to leftists and to everybody else in this country anymore, words matter. So when you start talking about things in the proper context, it gives everybody a better idea of what is going on. And those are two very small things that are very big, in my opinion, because it shows us that there has been a fundamental shift in the policies and procedures of the White House. The confirmation of Mad Dog Mattis is another big fundamental policy shift with the White House. No matter whether you think the Russians helped him get here or not, at this point, Putin is not happy about this pick. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I expect the left to be in this mode. I did not expect to still be fighting so outrageously with people, not just on the right, but within my own faction of the right. Like you said, you and I were both never Trump. And in a lot of ways, I still am. But I'm not so proud and so hell-bent on my stance that I can't, like I said before, recognize a win when we have one. And limiting federal, our country's federal funding of abortion services worldwide is saving lives. And that is a good thing if you are a pro-life, believer.
No, exactly. And, they keep talking about this. Everybody talks about the Women's March in D.C., but the one props I will give them is this seems to have kind of been a worldwide protest event. It seems like everybody kind of came out and said, this is why we are opposed to this particular president. But the interesting thing about that is one of the founding members of this whole thing actually has ties back into a group that supports bringing Sharia law to America. So I'm a little confused by that, to be honest.
Yes, and I witnessed a bunch of there was a whole lot the last few days of don't be a bigot, don't be closed-minded, and it seems to be this whole thing like, hey, Christians, like you're oppressive, like your religion is oppressive and bigoted, but bake my cake. But then there's this, and it's like, don't judge Sharia. You don't know what you're talking about. Quit being closed-minded. I support women that want it. What? This is like completely illogical. And this woman, for whatever good she's doing or she thinks she's doing for women around the world, she has downplayed the treatment of women in, Islamic ruled societies, specifically those with Sharia rule. She has, and she really went after the whole, like, basically saying, who cares that women can't drive in Saudi Arabia because they get 10 weeks paid maternity leave. Paid maternity leave. Yeah, get over it, people. I mean, what? These things aren't comparable. This is actually restrictive rights. So you get paid maternity. Who does? Your husband or you? Are you allowed to? Like, it's just so illogical to make the arguments for protecting someone like her, or not just supporting someone like her, who is supporting a very, very oppressive way of ruling people, while, calling names and calling pro-lifers and Christians and anybody that falls on that side as the ones that are oppressive. This is why they're falling flat, because people are no longer believing the words they say, because they no longer use definitions correctly. They just don't. So their words are hollow. And people, I'm sorry, I even hate this phrase, but this is why Trump won, people. This is why he won, because they can't even abide by simple definitions, because words have meaning and you don't just get to change that and make it mean whatever you want. Ideologies have certain things that they believe, and you don't just get to say that it isn't so because you don't want it to be. No, Sharia law is a thing, and it's not something to be scoffed at. And someone tried to say, it just means that they don't eat this and they don't do it. It was like very, very simplistic, and it's just completely false.
I mean, we're talking about one of the most oppressive political ideologies, especially for women, on the planet. We're talking about the fact that these people can't even wear normal everyday clothes out in public. They are restricted to this garb that, I guess, according to feminists, is supposed to be empowering. I'm not quite sure how that is, but you keep, like, there was this big thing at the march in D.C. where people were trying on the hijab, and they talked about how it gave them this warm, fuzzy feeling to put on a hijab. And I'm like, are you people freaking insane? You're talking about the Republicans as if they're going to take us back to 1955 and put you guys back in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant. But you're talking about embracing a religious philosophy that puts you back to 755 BC. Or AD, sorry. But still, I mean, come on. Yeah.
It has been something that I have watched go by on my timeline with person after person, and, people lecturing, and I'm just shaking my head going, what world is this? What world is this where you are so incredibly offended? And I was too. You're so offended by the words that Trump said about grabbing a blank. But the things that what Sharia law actually means, and what radical Islam actually means for women is so unimaginable. It's so incredibly repressive and violent towards women in their society that, grab my blank or grab her blank is, that is just something to laugh at, basically. So I don't get being so offended by something like that, but then supporting Sharia law to the point of just completely excusing what it really is and what it means.
So, Alan in the chat room, I'm sorry, I have to read this. I hope to God aliens didn't fly over and see the silly humans wearing vaginas on their heads and carrying "Don't grab my blank" signs. Galactically embarrassing.
Wow. Well, and that's a whole other thing is there was a lot of lecturing coming today, and again, the really never Trumpers were joining in the left with this of, you water down the debate when you talk about their looks, and it wasn't about their looks. It was these women doing, but no, it was because they purposely dressed a certain way to make a statement. So we're going to discuss the way they look. They look stupid in hats made to look like vaginas. And, they're going to sit here and tell me that, sorry that you're like stuck back in the 50s and you're brainwashed and, but I'm marching for you too, you crazy people. I'm going, yes, I can't think for myself, and I really need someone who's wearing a vagina hat and has on some sort of shirt with a really bold, crude statement on it, and then pants that are splashed, in the crotch area to look like blood. That's who I take seriously and who I need fighting for me and my future. Get real. That's ridiculous. And don't tell me not to comment on bloody crotches. That's insane. I'm going to comment about that because it does make them seem like unserious people. I don't take them. I just can't even. They seem irrational and outrageous, and so I can't take them seriously, and I can't even hardly hear their message over the crap they were wearing. So I'm going to discuss their looks. Thank you very much.
Well, what do they expect us to do?
Well, they promoted it that way. We're going to wear these hats, and also you could do these things, and we're going to. This is what they did. They did it purposefully, and it was to gain attention. So don't draw attention to that and then tell me that I'm not allowed to comment on it. Or let that factor into my thought process on whether or not I think you're a rational, well-adjusted human being that I should take your opinion seriously.
No, seriously though. Just look at the way. The hats aside. Let's put the hats aside for a second. Look at some of the other ways these people were dressed, and look at some of the signs that they were carrying. What exactly was supposed to be their message here? And I'm asking this for a reason, so I just want to get your input on it.
Well, I know what has been said, and I know from what I saw, it was all over the map. It went from, and I think it meant different things to different peoples because I don't think there was a unified message. I think that for some people it was an anti-Trump rally. That they were marching to be against Trump, period. And we saw that out of Madonna and Ashley Judd. And there were a lot of people that's what that was. They tried to disguise it as a women's march and say that it was for equality and rights for women so that it didn't seem so negative, I think. Then there's the people that thought it was really thought it was a pro-abortion rallies. They thought they were marching for abortion and for birth control. And then there are, I think, a small group of people that thought that they were actually walking for the betterment of women's lives. Yeah, but they were in the small section.
I think there was a few people that honestly thought that they were marching for a valid reason, but I think a lot of people were snowed because from doing just a little bit of research about all this stuff, a lot of these permits for these things were purchased months and months and months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wonder, what was their original intention for these marches? Because I keep hearing rumblings that these people were so convinced that Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president that these were supposed to be victory rallies, not worldwide protest rallies.
Exactly. And yes, I have heard that several times now also, and that there were lots of plans in the works and there was money that would be allocated to them once Hillary won. So, well, too bad, so sad. So they had to make it into something else because they'd already, put all the wheels in motion.
Yeah, all the wheels were already in motion. Everything was set, and all of a sudden, things didn't go as planned.
And to be fair, in my opinion, the one group of people other than maybe Mexicans that could be really offended by Trump and want to make a statement to him when he took office would probably be women, just because of things he had said and ways he treated people and bleeding out of her, whatever, and all of that the entire time of his campaign. So that, if a group was going to protest, I think that would have been a perfectly reasonable group to do so. It's just that this is so disingenuous. That's not what this was, and it was organized before, and there was no clear message, so they were just all over the map, and it was a lot of crude, vulgar yelling and signs, and that doesn't help anyone or change anything.
It definitely didn't seem to win any hearts or minds, well, except for Will Wheaton's, of course. He's been all over Twitter.
Well, my entire Instagram feed, I finally went through it yesterday. I don't know. I probably follow like 200 people I've known over the last 10 years. And that includes my very large family of like 50. But it was picture after picture in all these cities of all these people I've known for so long, at these rallies and with their children. I mean, so many of them took their kids, and I just wanted to reach into the photo and smack them across the face. But having little boys, 2-3-year-old boys hold signs saying a real man marches, and just crap like that. I mean, it's so put on. It's not even, it just nothing about, and so many of them were like, my grandma didn't come here, didn't survive and come here so that you could take my rights away. And it's all about rights, and they don't know what that word means. I'm sorry, just most of them don't know what it means.
I mean, honestly, though, who is actually trying to take away their rights? Because I don't know of anybody that's under the mistaken impression that at some point we're going to manage to get abortion completely outlawed again. I mean, I don't see any way that would happen. I really don't. And I mean, we're not talking about making them completely illegal again. And I mean, even I'm not, and I am diametrically opposed to abortion. I will point blank tell anyone that asks me that, as far as I'm concerned, abortion is murder. But I can't necessarily hold that opinion over anyone else. And I also don't necessarily want us to get back to blind alleys with rusty coat hangers. I mean, I understand that abortion as a procedure must exist because obviously people are going to find a way to do it regardless. But at the same time, and we've gone over this time and time again, and at some point I really hope maybe it sinks in for some people, Roe v. Wade specifically stated that abortion was supposed to be 3 things: safe, legal, and rare. Not make abortion on every corner like we have going on with Planned Parenthood right now. That's like we have all of this talk about all these supposed other services that Planned Parenthood provides. Guess what, folks? They have people that if you call them and ask them about these other services, they'll point blank tell you that they don't offer them.
Well, right. And I think that part of... There's a lot of problems here, and some of it's that, okay, so with places like Planned Parenthood, they are gearing it towards these younger women, right? So that's part of why they're not offering things like mammograms. They're not offering some of the other cancer screenings. And so they're offering, STD screenings, and not even all of them. There's just only a few. There's several, and it depends on the location. Some offer more than others. And then, basic gynecological services, and then abortion services. So they're definitely gearing it towards the younger women, and they're completely full of it when it comes to saying that if they don't receive this funding, or if they don't, then they are going to be forced to close. They have had millions and millions and millions of dollars of surplus every year. They receive ridiculous amounts in donations. And if all of these celebrities that are so worried about Planned Parenthood's survival would even give just a fraction of one piece of work that they did to Planned Parenthood, none of that would matter. It already doesn't matter. You take away all the funding from the federal government and it doesn't matter. They survive just fine, but they will use it as an excuse to close places and blame it on those big old mean, nasty Republicans that just want to be in your vagina. And they want to kill women, and they want to hurt women's health care. And I don't know when we got from it being a service to health care. That just infuriates me too.
Yeah, I'll tell you how they've gotten to the point of being able to paint it as healthcare, because they've spun the narrative that Planned Parenthood offers mammograms. They offer gynecological services. They offer prenatal care. They offer all of these supposed medical services where, honestly, if you call, and for anybody that's listening, I challenge you to do this because I know people that have done it. Call your local Planned Parenthood. Tell them that you're looking for something like prenatal care. And find out what their answer is going to be. Because 9 times out of 10, what you're going to hear is, I'm sorry, we don't offer any type of prenatal care. And I actually have heard a recording where someone specifically said the only reason they even have an ultrasound machine in that facility is to make sure that they can tell you exactly how far along the child is so they can tell you whether or not it's going to be legal for you to have the abortion.
Well, and it's, on both sides, it's so much emotional appeal. And that's one of the things that I think the right needs to do better at is taking the religious aspect out of it and taking the emotional aspect out of it to the extent that they use it. I mean, it's still emotional. Of course, it's a life, but there are ways in which people just tune out the same way that we tune out with the left.
Yeah, not necessarily disagree.
You know what I mean? Like, people can just be so overbearing with some. I mean, I think that there are very real conversations to be had that can absolutely find some better common ground. I think that I've had it with some of my own friends that were diehard choicers, pro-choicers, and were very, very liberal and adamant. But once we actually had a really rational heart-to-heart discussion, and we didn't make it about, well, you're a baby murderer and you want to control my body. When you kind of took away those really harsh narratives about it, and we talked about the ways that, we could each live with a certain facet of this, and mine is government's not involved, and theirs is, well, wait, but it needs funding. And then I lay out some things about the funding that they completely did not know, because that's not what is being reported, and that's not what Planned Parenthood is not honest about it. They don't know that there are other clinics. I sat right there with one of my friends and I Googled, women's health clinic, and pulled up 4 in our zip code, and there's only one Planned Parenthood. But they don't even know that that's there, that that's an option, because they're just told Planned Parenthood is the only one that helps women, especially low-income women, and it's simply not true. And when Texas decided, and this is why I had this conversation with a few friends, is because when Texas decided to defund, and then after, of course, those horrible videos came out, there was a clinic down in McAllen, Texas, in the Valley of Texas, going close to the Mexican border and the Gulf of Mexico, and they had been for 2 or 3 years trying to decide whether to close this Planned Parenthood or not. It just didn't get enough business, and it just wasn't worth it. So they had for several years been trying to decide if they were going to close it. When Texas officially defunded Planned Parenthood through Medicaid and other sites, they closed that clinic, and they use it as an example. See, we told you we'd be forced to close clinics. They were going to close it anyways within the next 6 months, but they waited until that went through, and then they used it as a prop. That's reprehensible. It's dishonest. And I think that that's the case with a lot of things. And I think that if it were to be defunded federally, you would see a lot of that. I think Planned Parenthood would absolutely purposely close as many locations as they could possibly afford in order to prove a point and to spite the pro-lifers.
Oh, I have no doubt of that. All right, so we're already at the bottom of the hour. We're going to have to take a really quick break. Now, I want you to think about something while we're on commercial break, because I saw a sign at this march in D.C. that absolutely floored me. There was a woman holding a sign that said, at some point in my lifetime, I hope I have as many rights as a gun. Now, let that sink in while we go to commercial break. We may talk about that when we get back. This is the Jenn Rick Show. We'll be right back after we pay some bills. Don't go away.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never...
myself to do what it is you think I should.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Having a place to go after school will make you a better student. Having an outlet to express yourself will make you a better artist. Having something to do together will make you a better family. At the Y, we're helping build better friends, listeners, writers, swimmers, scientists, and musicians, one chance at a time. Give the gift of opportunity. Support the Y at ymca.net. The Y, for a better us.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask
back down, 'cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could, 'cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
Bad host monkey, no banana. All right, folks, so we're back, we're live. Sorry about that. There towards going out to break the first time, it probably sounded a little bit like somebody hit a fast forward button, and then, of course, I hit the wrong button coming back in from the break. I take full responsibility, my bad. Hey, I'm still doing shows on cold pills. Don't judge me. All right, so anyway, before we went to break, we made a statement about a sign, or I made a statement about a sign that I saw that was posted all over this whole DC Marks thing, and it was a woman who said one of the craziest things that I think I've ever read in my life. And the sign said, "I hope someday I have as many rights as a gun has in this country." Now, I want you guys to logically think about that for a second, because what has to happen for you to be able to own a gun? First of all, you have to be able to pass a background check. In most instances, to carry it away from your own personal private property, you have to have the gun licensed and registered. So let's back this up for a second, because when a woman says that, we pretty much know exactly what she's talking about, even though she's not necessarily using that particular word. But we know from the hats that they were wearing at these rallies what specifically that a woman is talking about when she's talking about she hopes that she has the same rights as a gun. So what they're advocating is that their personal private body parts should be taxed, licensed, registered, and restricted.
And not only that, that then they should not be allowed in court buildings or other government areas where they are prohibited. They should not be allowed on an airplane. Let's see, most schools do not allow, most churches without necessary, there's some sort of clause about how to, so, bars, can't go to bars, can't go to the liquor store. Where else can guns not go? Yeah, let's make this a thing on leftist vaginas. I'm into it.
So let's just let this sink in for just a second. They're actually advocating for the type of restrictions that they say they're against, but oddly enough, some of these same restrictions are outlined in Sharia law. So maybe that's why they're okay with it.
Interesting. We'll just come right around full circle there, huh?
Well, because, there's these nice little codicils in Sharia law that a lot of people don't know about. Like the fact that a woman cannot travel outside of the country without a man's permission.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they've actually ever read what Sharia law really says.
I think that some of these people they know full well, and they are so wrapped up in the progressive agenda to demonize Christianity and uplift Islam, and that they think they're being progressive. They think that they're being just enlightened, I guess, that they and they don't think it can really happen to that extent here, but they'll support people that want to act like they live that way. Okay, whatever. I don't care what you do in your home either, but you're not gonna force citizens to live under something like that. And then I think a lot of people just are that ignorant and that naive, and then they listen to these liberal talking heads that decide, that push this narrative, and they dictate what people know about things like this. And I guess they're just not curious enough to really read people like. There's the guy who wrote, he's written a ton of books about jihad, but and he also has like jihadistwatch.org, I think is what it is. Jihadistwatch.org. I'm trying to remember. I'll have to look it up real quick. But his name is Robert Spencer, and don't freak out about that name. He's not that.
Not that Robert
that one.
Spencer.
He's not that one. But he also wrote the. You ever heard of the Pig series? The Politically Incorrect Guide to that. And there's all sorts of different. Once there's the Politically Incorrect Guide to the Constitution, the Politically Incorrect Guide to the Civil War. Well, he wrote the Politically Incorrect Guide to Radical Islam. So, anyways, super knowledgeable and everything. And his site comes up almost immediately when you start Googling truths about Sharia law or radical Islam. But, what comes up before all of that is ACLU info that's pushed, and Islamic coalition type sites and info that get pushed to the top. So people just may be fairly ignorant to what it really entails. They want to believe that it's a big bad lie by the conservative right.
I think the website you're referring to might be jihadwatch.org, but I'm not 100% positive.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
All right.
I will find it real quick before we send someone looking at something terrible on the internet.
Well, no, actually, that's what I was doing while you were talking, so I'm pretty sure that's the site you were looking for. But, there's another little interesting thing about Sharia law that I think gets some people drawn in. And that's something that I didn't know until I actually started doing some research here a few years back. Did you know that it's illegal under Sharia law to charge interest?
Oh, yes. That was one of the points that was brought up by the lady that everyone was standing with at the march, Linda.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay interest.
Yeah, it's actually one of the positive tweets about Sharia law that she put out not too long before the march and said, "Oh, are you still paying interest on your credit cards? Well, if Sharia law were here, you wouldn't be." Never mind the fact that you could be killed by a relative that decided that you had besmirched their honor, thrown off of a building if you happen to be homosexual, stoned to death if you do something, there's like a list of a million things you can't do.
Hey, how about this? All my fun little hipster vegans that love to run around town on your bike in your little yoga capri pants. Nope. Can't happen. You want to free the nipple? Yeah, you'll be shot.
Yeah, might as well get ready for the burqa, because that's what you're advocating at this point. We're not just talking about the nice little headdress at the top that everybody gets the warm fuzzy feeling when they put on. We're talking about basically putting you guys in the equivalent of a very long, very uncomfortable potato sack. So have fun with that. I'm out.
I'm out. I am totally out. I like my sweatpants. Thank you.
See, and here I was thinking you were one of those ones running around in yoga pants. Now you just burst.
Sometimes. Not all the time. Not all the time. Well, kind of not really on the same topic at all, but we're talking about infiltration. So did you see where the governor of the great state of Texas, Greg Abbott, has started the process to put his foot down on sanctuary cities, and it will definitely be targeting Austin, the wonderful city that I live in. And I don't say that facetiously. It really is wonderful in a lot of ways. There's just some nincompoops here. So basically he has started to drop the hammer about this. And I know it's because no matter what you feel about Trump, he knows it's because he has a federal government that's going to support him in this. And Texas tends to lead the charge on things like this, whether it has to do with border security, anything where the feds have to cooperate with the states. Texas leads the charge in standing up against them, and they lead the charge in abiding by them. So I'm kind of excited about that. It's like we just had a new Travis County sheriff, and she said that she was basically not going to honor federal holds for illegal immigrants unless it was a serious crime. She would reduce its cooperation with federal immigration authorities when they request an inmate be flagged for possible deportation. So Abbott said, "This is not a pronouncement of sound public policy. It is a dangerous game of political Russian roulette with the lives of Texans at stake." And then, but that was not enough for Abbott. This says, and I'm reading this out of Red State, but it was printed multiple places, whose letter calls the policy, which is set to go into effect February 1st, short-sighted and backed by frivolous justifications. So he is going to cut funding for Travis County, cut the funding for the Travis County adoption sanctuary with stiffer penalties coming. Now what this is where they take people in that are illegals, basically. Anyways, there's all sorts of layers to this, but it is a big start, I think.
That's great. I really wish that more governors were coming out and actually standing against the whole rise in sanctuary cities. Because I actually was just watching a news story a few days ago about a city in California, Santa Ana, California, I think.
Yes, Santa Ana. I know it well.
That has an entirely Hispanic city council, and they have opted to become a full-on sanctuary city. And the mayor there has given orders for police to cooperate with the federal government as little as possible in regards to the the Trump supposed deportation stuff. Now, I will say I think that's the one thing that he's going to have a lot more trouble with than he ever wanted to admit while he was on the campaign trail. I don't think it's going to be possible for him to do some of the things that he said he was going to do.
Right.
But the fact that he is willing to stop coddling these sanctuary cities and actually start doing something to make sure that they understand that they do have certain requirements to uphold federal laws, and that immigration is predominantly controlled by Congress and the Constitution, and therefore they do have to cede that authority to the federal government. I mean, I am a straight-up 10th Amendment guy, but there are certain things that are clearly outlined as federal powers. Immigration happens to be one of them.
Well, and I agree with you, and I don't think I think though that and I've always kind of been, and especially because I live in Texas and I mostly grew up here, also spent some of my childhood in California. I think I am maybe a little bit more, I don't know, maybe a little bit less hardcore conservative than some of my fellow conservatives on this subject. And I am not an amnesty person per se, but I'm certainly let's deal with the worst of the problem first, which is repeat offenders, criminals that are here, and being able to even remotely have the strength we need at our border. And I don't think a wall is the answer, really, but there is areas of Texas that already have a wall. And this is something that I think got lost a lot in the campaign, is that this actually was already a law, was to build a border fence. And it was, and several hundred miles of it were already constructed with several hundred miles to go. So this is not exactly like as far out in left field as it kind of was portrayed, but and those areas have a different way of how they monitor those fenced areas. But tackle the worst of the immigration flaws from the beginning. And because I have a few examples. When I was I guess I was right after college, and I'm working in downtown Austin, and I lived on the east side of I-35, which is pretty much dominantly African-American and Hispanic. And I was rear-ended by a guy, which seemed pretty purposeful. He was in an old clunker. He got out, immediately rolled around on the ground and grabbed his neck and grabbed his back. The police officer that came, I actually had a guy that was in front of me that was African-American that said, "Honey, I'm going to stay with you until, everything's squared away." Or he was next to me, in the lane next to me. I saw the whole thing. This guy's full of it, whatever. And I'm like, "Thank you. I really appreciate that." I was like 25. And the officer came, and the officer spoke Spanish as well. He was Hispanic. Talked to the guy, never once asked him for his identification. He didn't ask him for his insurance. He did not, basically just sat there and broed it out with him a little bit and sympathized with him and patted him on the back and told me that he was going to need medical attention and that I needed to provide him with my information. Not only that, but I needed to give the officer my ID so that he could go run and check that I had no warrants. It was outrageous, but this is part of that kind of sanctuary city thing. So this guy gets a pass. He wants me to give him my insurance, even though this guy doesn't have any identification or any insurance, and he doesn't have to give me mine. And the officer spoke down to me. The African-American gentleman stepped in, and I ended up filing a report with the city. But this is what tends to happen, things and that is one of a gazillion stories of so many people I know, including legal Mexicans here, that are fed up with that kind of crap too. When you allow your police department or your sheriff's department of your county to not cooperate in the ways that they should regarding immigration and what they should or shouldn't report to federal authorities, it trickles down even further to where they don't even give respect to the citizens. Because why do they need to? They're not going to do anything about this anyways, and they don't care to. So I'll get you good tax-paying citizen, and this person can suck your money dry from your insurance company, and I'll send them on their way with a pat on the butt. It's infuriating. So I understand people that really want to be hard-nosed about this, but I think that he's not just going to be able to executive order this problem away. There are ways to tackle this, and one of them is to start like Greg Abbott is doing and hopefully eradicate sanctuary cities in Texas.
All right, so a couple of quick things to touch on the way out the door. One positive, one negative, but we got to do it. So I just was going through Twitter timeline feeds and realized that I'd missed something kind of important. And apparently the House passed 236 to 183, a bill that would actually make the Hyde Amendment permanent, which bans federal funding for abortions. So, of course, that still has to go through a couple more hurdles to get there. And an interesting little tidbit about the final hours of the Obama administration. In his final hours as president, Barack Obama sent $221 million to the Palestinians.
Yes, I heard that.
So,
in the weeks right before he left, just 10 days before he left, Kerry made some fairly, what could be taken as hostile comments that are favorable to the Palestinians and hostile to Israel. And now we find out that money was passed.
Yeah, so I think he kind of...
You think he just wanted to blow it all up? I mean, let me just walk out of here with, and leave behind a grenade for them to step on.
I'm pretty sure that, I wouldn't be surprised if over the next few months we found several different little things that nobody knows about that are exactly that. Because he is that type of vindictive person.
I'm afraid he is.
Right.
I am afraid he is. Ugh.
Well,
hey, good news though is that Trump says that he's going to be trying to put up a SCOTUS Supreme Court nomination next week. So from his list, if he goes off his list and if they get approved, they are mostly fairly strict constitutionalists and pro-life. So that's good.
Which is exactly what we were hoping for, was to get a constitutionalist in there. And I have to admit, I will have to eat my words if he actually does that, because I honestly did not think he would bother trying to put in a constitutionalist.
Right, I'm with you.
Well, on that note, believe it or not, we are just about out of time, so why don't you remind folks where it is that they can hang out with you when you're not on the radio hanging out with me?
Well, I am just going to plug Twitter because I've got to overhaul my Facebook and the Misfits Facebook. So leave that alone for now. Come find me on Twitter at jholmstead, and then check out misfitspolitics.com.
And just as a reminder, because I haven't been doing this very much lately, this show is now available on the Loftus Party website. So make sure you go check that out. We have been airing over there for a while. It's not any type of a live stream or anything. They just kind of put the links up to the podcast once in a while. But if you didn't get a chance to catch it live, or you want to show us off to your friends, then that's a really cool place to go check us out, because they have lots of cool content on there too.
It is a really awesome site. I really encourage people to go look.
They have actually come a long way with that site. It makes me jealous because they keep bugging me about trying to contribute over there, and I just can't find the time. And I'm like, man, I just really wish at this point I could find the time to bang out at least one a month just so I could say that I was over there. I'm gonna have to find a way to get that done. But anyway, on that note, folks, we are out of here again. Of course, I am Rick Robinson. You can find me here every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern on this show right here, Jenn and Rick. And then, of course, I am live every Monday through Thursday on the America Off the Rails show. We have killed the Sunday show for now, because I realized that when I was doing that, I was working 7 days a week, and that's just a little too much. And then, of course, I am live on Friday nights on the Robinson and Wright show from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. For now, the Saturday programming is on hiatus. We are working on finding a liberal co-host to keep Finding Common Ground going. So no work for Saturdays for right now, except for CRN Talk.com, where you can hear me every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Central, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. And again, on that note, folks, we are out for the night. Take care. God bless. I will be back with you probably in about 5-6 minutes or so. We're going to have to get things shut down, get them spun around, then we'll be right back with America Off the Rails right here on KLRNradio.com. Take care. God bless. And for those of you hanging around, I'll see you in about 6 minutes.
If I could, 'cause I'm proud as hell, I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.